Today we're going to start with something really simple: blogging and who is your demographic.
Who's your demographic?
In a world where we all need to become more inclusive of human beings, regardless of color, creed, sexual orientation, or any other detail that makes us unique and beautiful as individuals, a good marketer has to be more critical. They need to analyze, dissect, and categorize customers. They have to ask the hard questions of gender, socioeconomic status, spend power, hobbies, and so on to better segment the market. And the reason behind that is simple. You can't be everything to everyone. The sooner you learn who you want to speak to, the sooner you can start to hone in your messaging, analytics, and efforts to earn more market share within your niche. So let's get started and understand what that actually means. I'll start by saying I've probably read 30 to 40 blog posts, all teaching you how to go from 0 to 1 million users in a year. That's just flubbernuts. That's no different than getting an email from an African prince promising you a 500% return if you send him $1,000 within the hour. It's just not true. Getting traffic is hard work and it takes time. Otherwise, we would all have 1 million visitors a month and we would have all monetized the heck out of our blogs. And yes, once you get to a certain point, the gains are exponential, but you're not going to get 50,000 views your first month unless you're throwing in a lot of cash or have some really serious contacts. So here we go. An intro into market segmentation. For those that want to delve deeper, I do conduct masterclasses, but this is going to let you hit the road running. So when we look at the internet as a whole, there are nearly 1.7 billion websites on the internet today, and nearly 600 million of those are blogs. Within that space, it's estimated that up to nearly 50 million are food blogs. So the question is, how do you differentiate yourself? The first step is understanding your niche. So many how-to sites that I've read, and I'm sure you've read as well, just gloss over what that means. They use generic terminology or throw away statements like, oh, just pick something that isn't saturated. There's no such thing as not saturated. That's just how it works, unless you're inventing a how to cook on the moon kit. So what you really need to do is ask yourself the following questions. 1. What is the theme of my blog? Is it, and these are just examples, baking, cooking recipes, food photography, lifestyle, travel, or everything? If you select everything, that is the wrong answer. You can work up to a multifaceted website, such as, food photography, lifestyle, travel, recipes, but you have to start with one category, hone it in, be an expert, and then start to pepper in others. That said, if you pick food photography, for example, absolutely. Optimize your site to appeal to someone that's looking to hire a food photographer, but go ahead and do your recipe development and cooking so that you can take beautiful pictures of your food. Now that you've picked a theme, it's time to decide what your blog is actually about, and I'll use myself as an example here. I wanted a cooking blog, but that's very generic and puts me in a category with potentially all 50 million other people. So it was time to drill down. What about cooking did I want to focus on? Was it, say, 20-minute meals, kid-friendly recipes, American, Chinese, Thai, Peruvian, whatever have you cuisine, or was it everything? If you remember our last question, everything is the wrong answer. You can diversify your scope, but you want to start with one main category, and that's because, again, you want to become an expert within that category. And also, people search in categories, not as apoplectic seahorses. Think of yourself and how you search. If you're looking for a pad thai recipe, you're not likely going to say, ooh, pad thai, bolognese, puppies, clouds, ooh, car. You're going to look within the category of Thai food, or maybe even further drill down into Thai noodles. So similarly, pick a topic, whether that's food photography, and if it's food recipes, for example, Indian, Chinese, American, whatever have you. For me, it was my passion for authentic Punjabi cuisine. So there we go. I have an authentic Punjabi cuisine blog, and slowly I'm increasing my scope and venturing into Punjabi fusion cuisine. Now that we know the theme of our blog and what our blog is about, the question is, who's going to come to the blog? Well, the no-brainer there is people looking for authentic Punjabi recipes. But again, what does that really mean? Who is that person that's looking for those? I know the minute that there's an infographic, we want to breeze through it and assume that we just understood it. But try and stick with me. I promise it'll be over soon. So let's look at the top left corner there. Based on what we're seeing, we see that 68% of all current food blog traffic is from individuals that identify as women. So we immediately know that we are more likely to get female users than male users to food blogs. We can use that information when we market, tell our personal stories, hire staff, create campaigns, portfolios, or really anything. It tells us who is most likely to be interested in our business and who we need to spend the majority of our time catering to, if we're planning on, again, attracting the majority of users. If you follow me over to the top right to age range, we see the average age of users of food blogs. Right away, we know that 55% of all web traffic comes from those between 25 and 44 years of age. This tells us that we're catering to adults, individuals that have defined themselves and made independent life decisions. Those choices include education, career, relationship, children, hobbies, likes and dislikes. So why does this matter? It tells us that we need to write video and ultimately present an adult-worthy offering. We need to leave out the verbal fillers, juvenile behaviors on camera like playing with one's hair, and yes, I've watched quite a few videos of bloggers and influencers where they're twirling their hair, picking at their nails, and just really not being great. And that's not to say that you can't have fun or be yourself, but rather emulate Julia Child and not a Kardashian. Let's head over to the right. Traditionally here, I would have a breakdown of spend power, but from a high-level perspective, we don't need to delve into that. We have more than enough information from our last visual. It showed us that our users are able to afford devices and the time to look through our site and action upon what they like best. So instead, we look at location. The majority of visitors to food blogs are based out of the US, Canada, Australia, India, and the EU. That said, demographics will vary a little bit if your blog caters to a specific region and/or cuisine, but if your blog is English-based, those demographics change very slightly. Knowing where your users come from allows you to better target them with content and ads. It also helps us to better understand what we need to post time-wise, as in AM, PM, which time zone, but also season-wise, holiday-wise. If the majority of users are coming from, hypothetically, India, Canada, and Australia, it's time to research what time zones people are looking at and what seasons or holidays and what's prominent within those seasons and holidays. It also allows us to know the predominant languages to translate our sites into, trends to research, and any regulatory requirements that may be required for international sales. So let's look at what we learned over the last few minutes, other than I'm really boring. We've learned that our low-hanging fruit or likely customer is going to be a 25 to 44-year-old woman living in a westernized country. She has a smartphone, speaks English, and has the economic means that allow her to peruse our websites and act upon things that she likes. Next, we look at why that's relevant or any different than what you already know. 1, it isn't earth-shattering information. It's just confirming what you likely already knew to be true, but it also will serve as a basis of information once we start to dive into our analytics tutorial. So as dull as this might have been, keep it in the back of your head for later. 2, it reinforces that you have to write, photograph, video, and cater to a particular audience versus everyone. If you're going for the majority segment, and that's the 68% that identify as female, then you know you need to write to a female that is realistically 25 to 44 years of age. If you want to cater to a male who is 80, then you need to write and cater to a male that is 80. Basically, just this should reinforce you've got to pick your targets. Don't be everything to everyone. And 3, it's going to give you food for thought on what your potential customer is interested in and allow you to create things for that potential customer. So for example, if you're going to cater to boys that are between 15 and 20, now it's time to start looking into what are they Googling, what are they interested in, what are they cooking, what are they buying, right? What's fun for them. Lastly, I'm going to end the brief intro by saying the point of this was not to say don't cater to men, people under 25, people over 45, or those in Africa, but rather to show you predominantly who's looking at food blogs around the world. In the masterclass, we delve into each demographic specifically, how to target them, for example, how to cater to men, young adults, particular geographies, including income brackets, hobbies, day-to-day motivations, internet searches, and what they're looking to achieve when they go to food sites. Hopefully this has been informative And ultimately, it's really just to remind you what we're going to look at once we get into our actual analytics discussions. Thanks so much. Have a great day.